One thing that I did not like is the 5-speed AMT that we have in this vehicle. Now, it's not the quickest responding unit. It does take a little while. The gear shifts are noticeable, but there is a quick fix for that. This right here is the Toyota Glanza. It's been in the market for a while, and it's also been part of our long-term fleet for a while, precisely 2 months. Now, we all know that it is a rebadged version of the Maruti Suzuki Baleno and shares a lot of the same features and engine, but there is one crucial differentiating factor which I will talk about today among other things, and I will also tell you how this vehicle is to live with. If you want to live with a vehicle for a long while, you would obviously want something that looks good, because you have to every day walk in, look at it, and then drive out. And a lot of people will also notice you inside the car. So does the Glanza look good? Well, you tell me, because design is subjective, but I personally feel that it does look really good. It has a nice proportion, and like I mentioned, because it shares the same design philosophy as the Baleno, a lot of things are similar, but Toyota has managed to put in a lot of differentiating factors. Especially at the front, you can see this single slat chrome grille, which immediately differentiates it from the Maruti Suzuki counterpart. You also have this black bumper with a carbon fiber finish, which looks well and contrasts nicely with the color. I especially like these tooth-like projections here on this side and on that side as well. And you also get a fog lamp, which is good because a lot of cars these days omit this feature. Now, over on the side, not much has changed, but there is one change, and it is perhaps my favorite, and that is the design of the 16-inch alloy wheels. You get 4 blade-like design elements in the alloys, and they really look good. And overall, I would say that Toyota has done a good job in adding small bits to differentiate it from the Baleno. But like I said, because it has the same overall footprint, it does look very good. We have this in the red shade, which looks good, but you can also opt for other color options like blue or white. But do you know what else is red? The subscribe button. If you're liking this video and if you're liking the content that we're giving, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon, and also like this video if you like the information that is being provided. Now, because I've had this vehicle for so long, I've spent a lot of time inside the cabin as well, and I've really liked it because 1, it looks good, 2, it's well built, 3, it's spacious, and 4, it is packed to the brim with features. First of all, I'll start with my comfort, because I am 6 feet tall, and that tends to be a problem in some vehicles, not in this one. You can see I have a good amount of headroom. The seat is very comfortable. It's holding me well. If you are slightly more well built compared to me, then also you'll have plenty of space to move around. And it also comes with seat height adjustment function, which is great, especially if you share your vehicle with other people in your family and they might not necessarily be the same height as you. So this gives you another dimension of making that adjustment and getting a little more comfortable with the car. Now, I also like the plenty of buttons that you can see all throughout, be it on this flat bottom steering wheel. You have these buttons, you have controls for the air conditioning system here, you have buttons over here to control the head-up display. Yes, you get a head-up display in this as well, which works really well, and that is also a good feature both in terms of safety and intuitiveness. The only capacitive touch buttons you will see are below this 9-inch touchscreen infotainment unit, and they too are pretty good to use. And the screen itself, well, it's the same one as the Baleno, and you get a very clean UI. The touch response is good, and obviously you get Android Auto and Apple CarPlay connectivity with this, so you can access a lot of features. There is a voice assistant, but sometimes it can pop up on its own and interrupt the music that was playing, and you have to say cancel and then it goes off. So that is one small niggle that I found. Another small niggle that I had was that despite being so feature loaded, you only get one USB outlet right here, and that is a type A unit. You also do not get a wireless charging pad. Not that it's a very big issue. You get a sliding armrest, which is good. It's not very broad, but at least the driver can keep their hand on it. And below it, obviously, you have a little storage area. You have two cup holders here, a place to keep your phone, and the bottle holders in the door pockets are also big enough for 1 liter bottles and some more items. Now, the instrument cluster is also really well laid out. You get two big analog dials and a digital display in the center, and you can access a lot of information through this. So that way is also, it's very intuitive. You can easily glance at it and get a good amount of information that you would want. You don't have to keep your eyes off the road for very long. Obviously, you do not have a sunroof in this, but that in my books is not really a problem since I'm not a big fan of sunroofs. If you are, then you might want to consider some other options. Now here we are in the second row of the Glanza. I will admit that most of my time was spent up ahead on the driver's seat, but I did get to sit behind for a while, and I also took my family out in this car for a couple of trips and got their opinion on it. Now, in terms of space, once again, you have plenty of space. You can see that the driving seat is set to my driving preferences, and I still have plenty of leg room and knee room right here. The under thigh support isn't as great, but it's not terrible either. The niggles that I have personally are, one, the headroom, which isn't a whole lot. My head currently is not touching the roof, but if I were to recline back, then it's almost close to touching. And the second thing is that the backrest angle could have been slightly more relaxed. It could have been a little more leaned towards the back for a little more comfort. The cushion of the seat, however, is nice and soft. You can fit 3 people inside if they're roughly the same build as I am, and you will have not a whole lot of trouble. There is a rear AC vent for cooling, and it does a good job. You do get 2 USB charging ports here. One of them is a Type C while the other is Type A, so that is good. Sadly, you do not get a armrest, which I feel is a miss. I think giving that would have not added to the cost a whole lot and would have made the second row experience a little bit better. Now, as for being a family car, you would also want a good amount of boot space apart from obviously being spacious and comfortable in the front 2 rows. And this gets more than 300 liters of storage area at the back, which is enough for most of your needs. Unless and until you're going in for a very long weekend trip with a lot of luggage, the boot space should be good enough. Comfort is the keyword when we talk about the Glanza. Just like the interior cabin experience, which is very comfortable, the drive is also very comfortable, and that is due to 2 key things. One, the well-behaved 1.2 liter naturally aspirated petrol engine, and the other being the suspension setup. Let me elaborate a little more on that. You see, this 1.2 liter engine produces about 88.5 horsepower and 113 Newton meters of torque, which in itself is not anything too spectacular, but the way that power and torque is delivered is very enjoyable. Because it's a naturally aspirated petrol motor, you get a nice and linear acceleration when you get off the line, and even while you're modulating the accelerator while driving, you will get a very nice and gradual response. It's not going to jerk you around a whole lot, and that is very helpful if you are traveling with your family. The engine itself is smooth and refined, and there's no unnecessary noise coming from it, even when you are revving it a little bit. So that way, it's a very effortless engine to use in the city, and despite being so comfortable and calm, it doesn't necessarily feel underpowered. Yes, it's not as crazy as some of the turbo petrol engines that are out there in the market, but even with 5 people on board, I never really felt like the car did not have enough pulling power. Whether we are climbing flyovers or if we are driving on the highway, it's able to maintain triple-digit speeds and also gets there pretty quickly. Now, the other aspect of the comfort is the suspension setup, which is softly sprung. It gives you a plush ride quality. So going over speed breakers, potholes and bad roads is not a problem, and I really admire that because some of the gullies near my house are not in the best of condition, and this car was really lovely all over those bad undulations. One thing that I did not like is the 5-speed AMT that we have in this vehicle. Now, it's not the quickest responding unit. It does take a little while. The gear shifts are noticeable. Now, to demonstrate how slow the AMT gearbox is, we are cruising at about 40 kilometers an hour, and it's in the automatic mode. We're in the 4th gear. Now, if I were to press down on the accelerator, you can see it thinking for a while and shifting to 2nd, and now it's up to 3rd and now 4th. So not only in this condition, but even while you're driving normally, the gear shifts are a little apparent, which can be a little bit annoying. Now, a quick fix to this is simply shifting it into the manual mode, and then you have the ease of driving in automatic without having to worry about a clutch, but you can take control of the gears yourself and shift a lot more smoothly. In terms of safety as well, this vehicle is pretty packed. You get a 360-degree camera, which means that parking jobs are very easy and a breeze with this vehicle. It's something that even some other vehicles which are a little more expensive don't have. Then you have the 6 airbags, which makes you feel a little more assured that if an unfortunate event were to occur, then you'll have a better chance of safety. Also, the brakes do a good job of steadily and quickly bringing this vehicle to a halt. They do not unsettle the car too much. So the braking also I really did like. Now, as for the fuel efficiency, which would be a prime concern for many buyers, especially the ones who want to drive it daily in the city, well, that is also very good. We have consistently been getting close to 14 kilometers to a liter in the city, even when we are stuck in traffic. So that is pretty good. Toyota claims that it delivers around 22 kmpl. It's a little different for the manual and the automatic. You can get closer to that figure if you are driving maybe on the highway, or if the conditions are a little more favorable and you're really careful with your throttle inputs, which means that even if you're driving without much care or consideration, it will give you about 14 to 15 kmpl, and that is pretty decent and means that you won't have to visit the fuel station too often. This flat bottom steering wheel is not only good to hold, but it also very good to use, whether you are driving on the road or if you're parking in a tight spot. Yes, it's light, which helps, but it does not get a lot of feedback. However, considering that this is a car meant for city, meant for families, I think that is completely justified. It has a decent amount of weight as you take up speeds, but mostly I really like how easy it is to take U-turns with this. You don't have to put in a lot of effort, and it comes back also fairly well. So that way the steering wheel is nice and easy to use. Now I'll talk about the differentiating factor that I mentioned at the top of this video. And that differentiating factor, apart from the price, is this, the Toyota badge. If you buy the Glanza, yes, you're getting the Baleno, but with the Toyota service network, which is renowned for its good service. So if that is something you're looking for, then the Glanza will definitely interest you. In terms of the price as well, it's not too expensive compared to the Maruti Suzuki counterpart. Across the range, you can expect a price difference of 10 to 30,000 rupees. Both me and my family have enjoyed the 2 months that we spent with the Glanza. It provides plenty of space, has good safety with 6 airbags, a lot of features, and the engine is a joy to drive in the city. Yes, it has its own set of niggles, and if you do not like those specific things as well, then maybe you might want to look at something else. But I feel for the price and the segment that it sits in, it gives you a very good city driving experience and has taken care of basically all my needs and my family's needs that I mentioned before. Now, if you want more detailed long-term reviews like this one, make sure that you're subscribed to our channel. Like this video if you like the information that was provided today. Let us know what else we can talk about in our upcoming reviews. What aspect of the vehicle would you like to know, and we will try to incorporate them in our next video. Until the next time, drive safe and ride safe. This is Akash Paul signing off. Bye-bye.